Secondly, military success obtained more slaves and more goods with which they could trade. By the 3rd century BC, the Jews had become a significant social force. But in becoming powerful, they had upset the great landed proprietors who resented the new idea of trading. They wanted localized, unscientific, productive-based ideologies to survive, ways of life to survive, not the new trading way of life. It is out of this resentment by the landed proprietors, an unhistorical, reactionary, embittered resentment, that anti-Semitism was born. The Roman historian Tacitus is typical of this anti-Semitism when he writes that, and I quote, "New religious customs were introduced by the Jews, which are opposed to those of other mortals. Among them, everything is profane that to us is holy, and everything is permitted among them that is abhorrent to us." This is, of course, reminiscent of a capitalist moralist attacking Marxists. The result of this anti-Semitism was a bitter class war. A vicious hate campaign was stirred up against the traders. The trading mentality had to be kept out. The idea of selling, of buying, of handling money was regarded as something which had to be destroyed. Mommsen describes a case of persecution against the Jews, and in quoting it in his book, Kautsky comments on its similarity to the Russian pogroms. I think it's worth hearing Mommsen's account of this Roman persecution against the Jews.
A grandson of Herod I and the fair Mariamne, named Agrippa after the protector and friend of his grandfather Herod, perhaps the pettiest and most degenerate of the many princelings living in Rome, but yet, or perhaps therefore, the favourite and childhood friend of the new emperor, a man hitherto known only for his dissoluteness and his debts, had got from his protector, to whom he was the first to bring the news of the death of Tiberius, the gift of one of the little Jewish principalities that was vacant, and with it the title of king. In the year 38, on his way to his new dominions, he arrived at the city of Alexandria, where a few months previously he had tried, as an absconding debtor, to get a loan from Jewish bankers. When he appeared in royal robes with a troop of gaudily uniformed guards, it was natural that the non-Jewish inhabitants of the scandal and ridicule-loving city, who had no particular fondness for the Jews anyway, should start a parody. And it went further than that, to a fearful pogrom. The Jewish houses, which were singly located and not in groups, were robbed and burned. The Jewish ships in the harbour were plundered, and the Jews found in non-Jewish districts were manhandled and beaten up. But the Jew-baiters did not venture to attack the Jewish districts by force. Their leaders hit upon the idea of making the synagogues, which were the principal object of attack, or at least those that were still standing, into temples of the new ruler, and to set up statues of him in all of them, with a statue on a quadriga for the chief synagogue. The Emperor Gaius believed himself to be a genuine god in the flesh, insofar as his crazy mind was able to function. This was known to everyone, including the Jews and the governor. His name was Avidius Flaccus, a brave man and an excellent administrator under Tiberius, but now crippled by the disfavour of the new emperor and in constant fear of recall and prosecution. He therefore was not above making use of the occasion to re-establish himself. He not only did not issue a decree to prevent the installation of the statues in the synagogues, but took part in the Jew-baiting himself. He ordered the Sabbath done away with. He declared further in his proclamation that these tolerated aliens had, without permission, taken possession of the best parts of the city. They were confined to a single one of the 5 districts, and all the other Jewish houses were handed over to the mob, while the ejected tenants were put on the streets without a roof over their heads. No protest was even listened to. 38 members of the Council of Elders were publicly flogged in the circus in view of the entire population. 400 houses lay in ruins. Trade and exchange stopped. The factories were still. The only recourse was to the emperor. 2 delegations from Alexandria came to him. The Jewish group was headed by Philo, a scholar of the Neo-Judaic school, and rather timid than bold, although he stood up stoutly for his kind in this emergency. The anti-Semites were headed by Appian, also an Alexandrian scholar and author, the world bell, as the Emperor Tiberius called him, full of big words and bigger lies, of loudest omniscience and unconditional self-confidence, knowing men, or if not men, at least their worthlessness, a veteran master of oratory and betrayal, quick-witted, clever, shameless, and implicitly loyal. It was clear from the beginning how the affair would turn out. The emperor admitted the parties as he was inspecting the gardens, but instead of hearing the suppliants, he asked them derisive questions. The anti-Semites, violating all etiquette, laughed out loud, and the emperor, being in a good mood, went no further than to regret that these otherwise good people were so unfortunately constituted as not to be able to understand his innate divine nature. In this he was undoubtedly in earnest. So Appian won, and wherever the anti-Semites wanted to, they turned the synagogues into temples of Gaius.
So, as you see from that, not for the first time, here were the Jews in a strange land, unable to participate in production, unable to participate in the civil service and government, unable to participate in the army, participating in trade, and being persecuted by the Roman Empire. What happened? These events forced more and more Jews to flee back to Palestine, to get away from the persecution. But events within the ranks of the faith caused divisions as well. 2 main sects dominated Judaism. The historian who wrote more than anything about ancient Judaism, Josephus, explains the nature of these sects. And once again, there's a brief excerpt from Josephus, which everyone will read.
As for the other 2 sects, the Pharisees are thought to construe the law most strictly. They were the first to form a sect. They believe that everything is determined by fate and God. In their opinion, it does not depend on man whether he does good or evil, but fate has an influence on it too. As to the human soul, they believe it to be immortal, the souls of the good entering into new bodies, while those of the wicked are tortured with eternal torment. The other sect is the Sadducees. These deny any efficacy to fate and say that God is not responsible for anyone's doing good or evil. That is entirely up to man, who can, in accordance with his free will, do the one and refrain from the other. They deny also that souls are important and that there is punishment or reward after death.
Basically, the division between these 2 groups within the Jewish faith was a class division. It was a division between the Sadducees, who were a priestly nobility who controlled the Jewish state of Palestine. All Jews had to pay money at that time to the upkeep of the temple in Jerusalem. And this money went towards not only the upkeep of the temple, but the upkeep of the many Sadducee priests who lived within it. And they lived, in a sense, as social parasites off of this tax, which every person in Palestine and every Jew who was scattered throughout the empire had to pay. Membership of this priestly aristocracy was by birth and not by any other entry to the priesthood. The Pharisees were a Jewish class which opposed the Roman domination of Palestine. Their propaganda was an intense Jewish nationalism which prophesied the throwing off of the Roman yoke and the establishment of a new kind of wider Jewish nationalism. The book of Daniel, which was written by the Pharisees at this time, between 167 and 164 BC, is full of these kind of chauvinistic visions. Visions of a Jewish nation which had thrown off Roman control, thrown off the Sadducees, and was spreading out to dominate through its trading ideology. Apart from these two classes, both of which were strongly commercial and national in their outlook, I should make a brief mention of two other Jewish sects, because in understanding them, we begin to see the transition from Judaism to Christianity.